Sure, I'm Andy Nunemaker, and I've lived in this neighborhood for a little over 10 years.
Okay, and address?
My address now is 2221 North Terrace Avenue in the Water Tower South neighborhood.
Are you from this area?
I'm from Milwaukee, yes.
From Milwaukee. Okay.
Yes.
So, can you tell us some stories about your house?
Yeah, and do you want background on the house? Who built it? What's the. 'Cause I brought some of the exact historic stuff. I can tell you off the top of my head a few things, and then we can kind of see, what, where you guys want to go. So the house was built in 1905. It was called the Guido Vogel Mansion, so it was built by Pauline Nunemaker Sawyer, and Guido Vogel was the first occupant of the house. The coach house out back was originally a carriage house for horses and carriages. That was built a year later in 1906.
Okay. And when you moved to here, or when you moved to this
The neighborhood or to this house?
this house
I just moved to this house last year.
last year.
Yes.
Wow.
I moved from 2 houses north. I was in the Clarence Falk house for 10 years.
So, do you know some histories or some interesting stories about this house?
Sure, there's lots of stories about all of these houses. Is the audio picking up okay?
Can we stop real quick? Okay.
Okay. So we're talking a little bit about stories about the house. So it's interesting. The house was built in 1905 by the Guido Vogel family. But then the Vogels moved out, and in the 1920s, a family named Kiekäfer moved in. And so the Kiekäfer family came in, and they took the original design of the house, which was basically everything you see right here. They busted out the back, and they built a grand dining room, a very large dining room, and they combined the old dining room, a hallway, and the old living room into one great room, and they brought in some wood paneling that was from a Scottish manor house, I believe from the 1700s, and recreated this beautiful large-scale room in the house, and then added on the dining room, and did a few other additions. So it was a pretty large-scale project only 15 years or so after the house was built. And then, interestingly enough, they sold it back to the Vogel family. So Guido Vogel's son bought the house and then lived in the house until 1974.
So, you mean the dining room has changed?
Since 1905, when the house was built, the dining room had changed, yes.
And when you moved to here, do you have changed anything?
Yeah, I changed just about every room except a powder room on the first floor. I added a swimming pool. So originally, the Vogels had plans to put a swimming pool in the backyard, an in-ground pool. So I put the in-ground pool in a similar area where the original plans called for a swimming pool. And then I redecorated the entire house, and then I finished the basement. So the basement had 2 usable rooms. It had a billiard room and a men's lounge. I restored those and then built a bar and a poker room and a cabana and changing area and locker room for the pool and a fitness center and a wine cellar and a powder room, and basically made the entire basement usable space.
Okay, the basement is more useful than
Yes.
before.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
The family who lived in it before took very good care of the house, so they were wonderful caretakers of the historical and architectural integrity of the house. So I just redesigned the upstairs the way I wanted to live, and then redid the basement.
Do you have any memorable stories with your friends?
Oh, lots. Yes, many. Every month there's a different fundraiser at the house, either for the art museum or for the symphony. So there's always something going on at the house. So lots of fun already in the first year.
Okay.
Is this the gist of what you're looking for? Okay.
And how do you think this area, the neighborhood, is as good as considered?
Well, I think it's interesting because people who don't live in the neighborhood, and drive through and look at the houses think, oh, these are great big houses. These people must all be, snobby people who live here. And it's actually a really tight-knit neighborhood. I know people in every single house that you can see here. And we all know each other and we all get along, we all hang out. I'm going two houses up for dinner tonight. They were here on the porch last Wednesday. My neighbors come and swim in the pool. You know, we all just really, we see each other a lot, we get along, and we watch out for each other. It's a really tight-knit neighborhood. And that surprised me when I moved here. I wasn't sure what the neighborhood would be like because I had never lived on the east side before.
Do you know the history of this area, or
Yeah.
or something has changed?
Well, sure. This is, I mean, all of the houses here were built by the old industrialists around the turn of the last century. So this was the Vogel house. Across the street, Villa Terrace was the Smith house. Next house was a Pabst house. The house next door was a Pabst house, or at least built with Pabst money. Smith Hoyt house up here, the Falk house. The Falk family built the next two houses. So all of these were built by the old industrialists who lived here until the 20s, 30s, 40s, and then as that generation left, the houses had different uses. And I think in the past several decades, people have really come back and reinvested in these houses and brought them back. Almost every house now is back to a single-family house. And more are turning into single-family homes as they're being bought by this next generation of caretakers.
I know Villa Terrace is also a historic building.
Yeah, actually, this entire neighborhood is a historic neighborhood.
Actually, this one last
Yep.
week.
Yep.
So, how do you think this one? It's a Villa Terrace.
Yes.
If that's a building that you think it's very, how to say, useful, or
What do you mean? Using it as a museum?
yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see all of these houses back to their original use of single-family homes, but I don't know if that's always practical. But if you had a family that could take care of these and hand them on to the next, the next, keep them up and maintain them for the next 100 years, I think that would be a great use for all of these houses back to their original purpose. That said, Villa Terrace does a really nice job of taking care of the property, and they've restored the bluff and restored their gardens, and it's beautiful, and it certainly adds to the neighborhood.
I thought this building is really big. Do you manage your garden, or?
Well, it depends how you use the word manage. I manage the whole property. I make decisions, but I have a house manager who actually takes care of the details. I have a wonderful gardener who does all the planting and actually the proposing of where the plants would go. A great landscape company, a good lawn care company, a good sprinkler company. So everybody chips in to take care of this company that takes care of the pool. So I certainly don't do it all myself. That would be 2 or 3 full-time jobs in itself.
This is the original.
So what we have here are the blueprints of the house from 1923 when they redid the dining room and changed the interior of the house. So these are close to original, and they're all bound together in this book. So you can actually see all of the elevations. It gave my design team who redid the interior a really, a good blueprint for where the electrical was, where the ductwork was, what they could do in terms of wiring and setting the house up for security and for sound. So they were very useful.
Yeah. Because how do you think about the house now that you change it? I know you change the basement. Do you think the dining room is more useful than before?
Well, I actually changed the use of all the rooms. So the room that was built as a dining room in 1923, I actually use as a billiard room today. The room that was built as a ladies' parlor in 1923, I use as the dining room because I don't need a ladies' parlor for the way I live. So I've just changed the purposing of some of the rooms to suit the way I live. These the type of answers you're looking for?
mentioned that you lived for 10 years in the neighborhood.
Yes.
You were just up the street, and before that you had not lived on the east side.
No, I actually hadn't lived in Milwaukee for 18 years, so.
Oh, I just wanted to know a little bit about your background and how you came back to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And how you decided to live in this area and what about it you were attracted to.
Yeah, I'd always loved this area. If you ask my friends back in high school, we used to come. I grew up on the northwest side, but my dad would always take me down here, and I knew all of the streets, and I actually knew all of the houses way back when I was a little kid. And my mom did grow up on the east side, so I've always had an affinity to it. And when I was being relocated, actually I worked for GE Healthcare, and they were relocating me from Sydney, Australia, back to Milwaukee, where their headquarters are. This was the neighborhood I wanted to live in. I really only looked at the east side. I don't think I would live anywhere else other than from here to downtown along that lake, along that 1.5 mile strip. That's the only place I would live. I mean, you can walk to the beach, you can walk to the marina, you can walk to play tennis, you can go run along the lake, you can bike along the trails, you can walk to Von Trier's and all the restaurants and all the bars in the Oriental. And really, it's I think a center of the city, this neighborhood. And so many people from all around the city come here to enjoy Villa Terrace or enjoy the beach. And it's just a vibrant, fun place to live. So I knew this was the neighborhood I wanted to move into.
Did you sort of cultivate an interest in the historical aspect of the neighborhood once you started investigating moving here, or once you moved into this area?
Yeah, I think I think all of us think of ourselves as caretakers. My friends Brian and Carol are walking past right now. They certainly think of themselves as caretakers. We all, I think because it's expensive to keep these properties, keep them up, keep them maintained, keep them structurally sound. It takes more than it would living in an average new house. And so I think it takes a certain person willing to make that investment, because we're not going to get anything out of that investment. I put so much money into my old house that I've never gotten out of it, but the house is going to stand for another 100 years. The money I put into this house, I'm sure I'll never get out, even if I live here 20 years. But I still say it was worth it. So I think it does take a certain person who lives here who really cares about the neighborhood and cares about these houses.
I also have heard that you're quite an art collector.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Is that not true?
No, I'm a beginner art collector. I've only been collecting art for about a decade or so, and started off small. And I know what I like, and it's eclectic, and so no one can really pinpoint the style of the art in here. But yeah, I do. I love art. I love living with art. I love seeing how we can know what we like and being able to acquire it and put it on our walls and see it every day and live with it and think about swapping it out and changing it. So that's one thing I do myself. I don't outsource that, and it's a hobby. Maybe it's an addiction, but it's interesting because one of the prominent owners of this house was Virginia Booth Vogel, who had one of the best art collections in the Midwest. And so in the ladies' parlor, we had Renoirs, and we had all these amazing pieces of art throughout the house. So the house is certainly familiar with art. And so I'm on a much smaller scale bringing that back a little bit.
Kind of continuing that
Yeah.
tradition. And it's interesting because we interviewed 4 people now in each house. Art was a very big part of the house,
Yeah.
and a big part of living in this area, to be close
Right.
to the museum and involved in, like you were saying, fundraisers.
Right.
And,
Right.
so, I mean, I find it a little, well, I don't know, unusual. You're so young.
Well,
And well, I don't know how old you are.
that's
but-
all relevant,
Yeah.
relative, I
But,
guess.
to be interested in the community in that way
Yep.
and be involved in the community in that way, do you know where that came from?
No, I don't, because I grew up in a household of fairly modest means, so our family just took care of each other, and this is all a little bit new for me, but having the means to be able to do it. My neighbors are walking past. Hey guys, sorry. having the means to be able to do it, I think we also then have an obligation to do things like taking care of places like this. But that's all really new for me, so I don't know where it came from. I know that wasn't a full answer to your question.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's not like you have to account for, yes, my mother was like
No,
this, and so I'm
yeah.
like this, or anything. Yeah, yeah. Right. Can you think of anything you want to?
No, it's been. I think it's been pretty good. I don't know if you wanted to. Do you want us to show us anything?
I could. I mean, we could do a walk around if you wanted to just kind of see some of the things about the house.
I would love to.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great.
Well, is this what you're looking for?
Do you live here alone?
I do, yes.
So no wonder you have so many parties.
So I haven't fixed my flowers yet either. I just got home. But so this was the ladies' parlor. But I just think the size and scale of the room just made it fit as a dining room.
Yeah.
So it's just nice size for dinner parties.
Yeah.
Just a lot of fun for parties. So Steve, were you in my old house then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I came to a Halloween party one year.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So dining room. The wet bar, foyer bar used to be a coat closet.
Nice.
We use it more as a
Very-
bar.
This is an is it wait, is,
That's the powder room. That's the one
Oh
room I
my
did not
gosh.
redo.
wow, it's pretty slick. Always yours.
So this is the room that the key capers redid in the 20s. You know, bringing in the old paneling and the carved wood,
Yeah. The ceiling.
redoing the ceiling. Yeah. So this was the dining room right here. This was the living room. There's a
Oh.
fireplace here, and where I'm standing was the old hallway.
Wow. I'm just looking at the walls.
Yeah, it's much.
Oh my gosh.
I think they did a really nice job opening this up, though.
Yeah.
These old houses just don't have big rooms like this. And then the key capers built this patio, so they built the breakfast patio in the 20s as well. And everything back here is the new addition as well. So this used to be the dining room, but it was just too big for me. I wouldn't be able to fill it with people. And it just, I had this nice billiard table, so it
It's
worked out better.
beautiful. Yeah, really nice. Who's that photographed by?
Oliver Herring is the artist.
Hmm.
My family of ducks.
Oh, this is the swimming pool. Holy
Yeah,
smoke.
yeah.
So was this just a yard back here?
Yeah, it's just a grass and some pear trees.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you love living here.
Yeah, it's fun. I certainly get a lot of use out of it.
Uh-huh.
So, butler, pantry, kitchen. We can go look at the basement if you want, since that's the interesting.
Sure.
That's more interesting.
So do you generally buy your artwork from galleries?
Yeah, it depends. I have a few favorite galleries, and then the art museum has an auction every other year
Uh-huh.
for the Contemporary Art Society. So I bought a lot of pieces there. I actually co-chaired that 3 years ago. And so we get to go to New York and Chicago and LA and pick out the art.
Oh,
So I kind of got an inside scoop on things.
Wow.
So that's actually the original billiard room right through there.
Oh,
So I didn't have to do much in this room, just a little bit of cleaning up and painting.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the Vogels used this as their billiard room. And then this was the men's parlor over here. So they had a lot of crown molding and things on the ceilings. Really, really nice. But when I moved in, the whole thing was collapsing and the floor was ripped out, and so we just brought this back to life.
Now, the beer stuff.
That's just my stuff.
I know, but is it you
It's
just
all
like?
Schlitz.
But is it just because you like the way they look, or
I don't
because
know.
you like Schlitz?
It's just I like Schlitz. So that's it.
Well, it's good of you to admit,
Yeah.
especially in these days of artisanal beer, this and that.
Yeah,
and this.
I don't drink much, but I don't drink beer often, but when I do, it's Schlitz.
Oh, okay.
And then this all was unfinished, really. There were pipes and water coolers and everything, condensing units.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was 2 different rooms.
This is
And
just
so
like a bar.
we opened this whole thing up, and the designers did a really nice job. They sandblasted the walls and just really
Mhm.
made it look like it's original.
Yeah, yeah.
And we put in the wine cellar. This is the cabana, so just for locker room, showers and stuff for the swimming pool in there. And then this was the laundry room. And now it's the fitness center.
Oh my gosh. So where'd you move the laundry?
What's that?
You moved the laundry back further?
There is a laundry upstairs across from my closet.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh yeah, that's
it's
nice.
a lot more convenient for my housekeeper not to have to run up and down.
Right, right.
This was the laundry chute, so I think they dumped their laundry.
Mm-hmm.
It came down the chute, it all just landed here, and then the lawn. I talked to Fred Vogel, who's the grandson of Guido Vogel, who built the house. And when he grew up, he said they had a staff of 7.
Wow, yeah.
So they had a laundress, and they had a chauffeur, and they had the head housekeeper, and the butler, on and on. So 7 people staffing the house back then.
Did they live in the house?
Most of them lived in the probably the I guess above the. Some lived in the house, and I think some lived in the coach house.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyhow, I'm gonna quickly shut the lights off as we go upstairs. I'm
Sure.
not coming back